Good morning, Hoosier Nation. A little off to start. Mic muted. Love those early weekends, early vacation mornings, getting up, going, get this show happening. Good morning, Hoosier Nation. This is Hoosier Morning after Lindenwood. 2 nights ago, your Indiana Hoosiers go on to defeat Lindenwood 73-53, going 5-0 on the season. Another game where Indiana felt a little bit out of sorts to start the game on the offensive end, getting off at least to a 10-0 run in the first 6 minutes, despite the shots not going down again. The defense was at least there, able to make up for the lack of production in this game. Overall, the middle part of the half, Lindenwood would be able to get the game within at least 4 points at one point. But after a timeout and some refocusing clearly from the coaching staff, with some help of Sam Alexis going into the game and helping to up that intensity on the floor, IU finally locked in and took a 16-point lead into the half. And after a slight slip of that intensity, I think to start the second half, IU's kind of struggled that kind of getting up at the beginning of these games and then coming out of half was a little bit of a letdown. IU would eventually kind of lock back in. The intensity was there, getting Indiana into fouling situations, getting Lindenwood into fouling situations, cutting to the basket, getting into their screen work a lot more, putting IU in the bonus very early at about the 13-minute mark in the second half. And during that portion, in the middle kind of part of the second half, we had Tucker DeVries go on a monstrous run himself on a 13-point scored just by him in a 3-minute span. From there, IU pretty much coasted to the final score of this game. Thank you for being here with me. Martha may pop in here in a minute on this wonderful Saturday morning. Another victory for Indiana, of course. A interesting one that obviously probably gives us a little bit of pause again. Obviously, we started this season as a fandom, not knowing what kind of team this would be, and just excited to see it out there when the games count, seeing the shooting and the explosiveness that the offense had in the first couple of games for Indiana. Got this fan base very excited. Got me very excited as well. I will admit that. And these last two games have kind of put us back down to earth a little bit to see what that is. And it's mostly just from the offensive struggles that we've had so far. It appears that this team has come out in these games either too relaxed or almost like they're kind of like holding back a little bit from running sets to avoid putting too much tape on out there for opponents to watch. Almost kind of parallel to football. You think about football and some of those early season games weren't really getting going. The Old Dominion game, that kind of thing. It just didn't look like they were trying to run too much. It almost feels like Indiana has been doing the same. In the first few games, it was a lot of those ghost screens, those back screens, the little cuts, the two-man games that you saw that really kind of allowed IU to be explosive against Marquette and some of the other games. And you just haven't seen that in these games, at least starting out. Obviously, IU think ratcheted up when they got into timeouts and the coaches would call a few plays to try to get guys going. And I think at that point, there was already kind of a stagnant situation with the players, with the team trying to get the ball, kind of desperation to get that feeling of the ball going into the hoop and feel like things were flowing a lot better. That was kind of really the struggle. I think Reed Bailey was one that really struggled to find some of that rhythm. But there were other players that kind of stepped up into that situation when we needed it. And I think the real thing that stepped up to allow Indiana, despite those offensive struggles, to stay really in this game was the defense. The defense, at least the first shot defense, continues to be really good for this team. The on-ball pressure from guys like Lamar and Tayton and Connor Enright on the guards just really sets the tone on that side of the ball, and allows Indiana to have a little bit of these slumps. It makes up for those slumps that you have on offense when your defense can take care of business. However, the one glaring thing on that side, which honestly, adding the offensive struggles to what was for a while in this game, at least at the beginning, some defensive rebounding struggles, allowing Lindenwood to get 16 second chance points that could have been honestly a lot worse because they allowed them to get 19 offensive rebounds. Was pretty lucky considering the fact we couldn't get the rebounds. We saw guys would kind of be standing around watching, trying to waiting for the ball to come to them. It wasn't until we got Sam Alexis in there and you saw him going up there with two hands, snagging the ball down. Also, what we've seen, at least in the previous game before Lindenwood, when there was some of that offensive rebounding or defensive rebounding struggles, you saw a lot more rebounding from the guards coming into this. And there was a lot less of that. You had, let me see, Lamar had 4 rebounds, Connor Enright had 2 rebounds, and Tayton had 6. So still, you had most of the rebounds with them, where you had Reed Bailey with just 2 and Tucker DeVries with 3. And that can be a team situation, but I don't think it fully was in this game. I think it's when you had Tucker and Reed in there in that first half, that's where you saw the rebounding issues. They weren't really going up for it. And then you get Sam Alexis in there, who finishes with 10 rebounds, the most on the team, that was really kind of being more physical going up there. And times that he wasn't able to, he was putting boxing out his man. That is what allows those guards to sweep in there and make athletic plays and get those rebounds. So not exactly a good thing. The only good you really take from those struggles is that now it's on tape, and now the coaching staff can go back into practices, and hopefully we get that cleaned up. Hopefully in these coming games, that is not a situation that we are dealing with moving forward, because that could be a struggle for this team, and that could lend it to some losses. That you could really point it towards if offense is struggling like it did, and then we're giving off the rebounds, we're giving second chances to teams. We're going to run into teams that are going to take advantage of those. But like I said, the on-ball pressure is something that I really liked in this game. Really put Lindenwood out of sorts, forcing 14 turnovers by them, and we had 18 steals off of those that ball pressure. So I really enjoyed that, and I think they really gave them fits and caused them to really try to have to go to an offense that was a single man situation, a hero ball, if you will, for Lindenwood. Leaning over into talking about different players in this game, I think that have to talk about Lamar continuing to struggle on the offensive end. This is the kind of second game in a row where he just struggled to see the ball go into the basket. And you could see that really kind of affected him. He had some missed easy layups where he got to the basket, and those things he needs to get in there and he needs to be able to hit, because that just allows him for more room on the outside. If he becomes a threat to be able to drive into the hoop and can get those shots up, then that just opens things up for him from 3. And he finished in this game 14 of 16, 1 for 7 from 3, and that one 3-pointer that he did make didn't come until the 7-minute mark of the second half. And you did see him relieved, kind of looking to the skies like, thank you, Jesus, kind of moment that he finally got to see one go in. However, I will say, again, despite that lack of shot making, he did stay locked in on the defensive end. And you'll see other star players or niche players, or we've seen them in the past for Indiana, that when they struggle to make shots on the offensive end, that gets frustrating for them and frustrates them. And then it turns into fouls. It turns them into overplaying on defense to make up for that. And I think that was obviously not the case because Lamar just finished with one foul in the whole entire game. So it was good from a mentality standpoint to see him stay locked into the game, to stay active in what he was doing. He finished with 2 assists as well. So he stayed at least a little involved in the game on the offensive side as well when it wasn't quite going down for him. But that struggles is tough to see. And I think he's going to be a player, or quite possibly could be a player for IU, that we need to draw some stuff up early in the game to get him those easy baskets. And that might have been what that layup was that he missed early in the game. But give him that confidence, that jump start to allow him to find that rhythm of the game, because otherwise he does look like a player that's going to visibly get frustrated on the offensive end until he feels that rhythm that he can find in the game. I think Tucker obviously had a good game too. I think from a leadership standpoint and everything, he was good, kind of keeping the guys focused out there. He obviously had that great scoring stretch in the game where he scored those 13 points in 3 minutes to kind of stretch the lead out. Over half of his point total in that scoring 3 minutes. He finished with 25-point leader for this team. Just started to nail threes at that point. He was obviously missing a few. Missed a wide open one earlier in the game, but was a perfect 6 for 6 from the line. Got himself to the line, got physical, saw that that Lindenwood was going to try to play IU physical and fight through some of those screens and not give IU all the room to make those baskets. So he was crafty about that and was able to get himself to the line a good amount. I would still, again, my one critique of him in this game and overall would be just the rebounding, being more engaged, get up there, get some more rebounds. He finished with just 3 in the game, and those were all on the defensive end, at least. None on the offensive end, not too many offensive rebounds for Indiana anyways in this game as they were making shots. But just a pretty great game for him, at least offensively, as he if you add in that little stretch for Indiana. And defensively, again, does well for his size and his lack of speed and everything. But when he gets switched onto some of the smaller guys, I do think he still does pretty good for Indiana. The player that continues to kind of be a favorite for me, and I love that he's our first guy off the bench, is Sam Alexis. I think Sam Alexis brings that maturity to this team, and without having to be there at the games, you'll have to let me know if you've been there and you see it. He feels like he's a vocal leader for this team and kind of sets the tone and intensity when he gets out there for this team. He finished with 8 points in this game, 2 for 3 from the field, a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. So that's great to see from one of your big guys. You're not going to have that deficiency of a big guy getting in there. Had 8 defensive rebounds, 2 offensive, and finished with just 2 fouls, 1 assist, 1 turnover in 24 minutes of play for him. So great game for Alexis. Again, I love his energy that he brings out. I love his intensity. He also had 4 blocks in this game. That was a great thing to see as well for the team. Really just that oomph that you want coming off the bench for a team. And that's true of, honestly, our 2 first guys coming off the bench, him and Trent Sicily. While Trent, I think, did struggle a little bit more in this game. 8 points, 4 for 11, 0 for 2 from 3. But I thought he hit a 3-pointer. Maybe they ruled that a 2 in this game. Did miss his 2 free throws that he had, but finished with 6 rebounds, just 1 foul in the game in 17 minutes. So again, I love that are two guys that first come off the bench for Indiana are at least to what I believe are our two most intense players, or our two guys that play that bring intensity into games and bring energy. I love that off the bench. That's something you want to see off the bench. If players are starting to get tired, you have that punch to come in there and really try to get things going for your team. So love having those guys. Thought they had a pretty good game. I mean, if you're getting 16 points from your two guys coming off the bench like that, if you average around that, that's great. That's great. That's a good thing to have coming off the bench to support the starters of your team. Spoke a little bit about Reed Bailey. I still think Reed's had a tough go these past two games, kind of finding some rhythm and everything. I think a lot of that, a lot of his success comes from the two-man screening game, kind of role game that him and Tucker are able to play together. He got a few out of that, but he was one of the players finishing in plus and minus, in the minus on this game for Indiana at a -5, but he just had 6 points for Indiana, 2 for 5 from the field, 2 for 3 from three-point line, just 2 rebounds, just a relatively flat kind of stat line from him, only 16 minutes. Obviously, the coaching staff saw that it wasn't technically really his game out there, so he didn't get as much run, which is going to happen. Again, guys are going to have off games, but this is kind of really the type of game you hope to be able to build some more chemistry between players and things like that. So I think that's really kind of the bummer thing for Reed Bailey in these past two games, the lack of production and use of these lower things. I'm not concerned. I'm not sounding any alarms at the moment. He's going to be streaky. He's going to have his ups and downs. It's just a situation that I'm going to keep an eye on. We need to make sure that he's feeling better about himself, and he might be one of those players too that needs to see some shots go down to get going in this game. Our 2 point guards in this game, Connor Enright and Tatum Connerway, the two cons, finished together with 7 points. Again, Connor Enright is not going to be that player that you're going to look to score a lot. He did only take one shot. It was a 3-pointer. He was wide open for on a kick out. Teams are going to sag off of him. They're going to have that. And it's going to be interesting for IU to see how they game plan against that. What do you do with a player that's out there that's being sagged off of? Obviously, as Indiana fans, we've seen that in the past. The way at least teams were sagging off Justin Smith when he was out on the 3-point line, or where teams were sagging off McBob. We had those situations too. And I think Connor Enright's a different situation. He is, because he brings that defensive intensity. He's also a great playmaker in the sense of making a play for others, being a point guard, great distributor for the team. I mean, he finished with 3 assists in this game with just 1 turnover. Making that 1-3 is very important. Only his second made 3 of the season. I still think he needs to take those shots when he has those and when those are open, just to make him the slightest bit of a threat that they have to think about on the offensive end. I think is very important. But again, he sets such great screens. He knows the system. So I think where you normally would have a lot more pause from a player out there, especially in the starting lineup, that is not an offensive threat from a scoring standpoint, he's an offensive threat in other ways and in other things that he does, in his passing, in his screening, and his ability to kind of get downhill at times and kick it out, collapse the defense, at least causing them to honor him while he does get to the basket. That is where he makes up for that. And just being that pest, being that player that's just breathing down the opponent's neck and being the nagging thing. Again, he finished with 4 fouls on this game. And I think we're going to see him foul out the most, and he's going to be the one with the highest fouls on the team. And I'm fine with that. I'm actually happy with that because he's the pest. He's the dog of the team. And I like having that player that teams hate. That teams hate to go against. And he's got that look too, with the stash and the mullet. I mean, he's that player that you just despise if you're playing against. So yeah, it's great to see. I'm excited to see the Twitter just ignite with hate for him and aggravation for him, chirping and doing all those situations. Just stay out there and cause havoc. Be the Joker of this team. Cause havoc for havoc's sake. Started to talk about Connor Way a little bit. I think in this game he struggled as well, shooting like everyone else did. Was 2 for 5 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 2 for 4 from the free throw stripe, 7 points on the game. Like I said, did have 6 rebounds. He was our second leading rebounder, actually tied with Trent Sicily for rebounds in this game. He's one that attacks the glass like that. So he does use his athleticism. I do like that. Did have the highest assists of the game for Indiana at 4, with just 1 turnover, 2 steals. So very active. Again, another pest, just like Connor is on the defensive side on the ball, that you love to see. There are times where both of those are a little too much of a pest and their guy can get a little by them. But I think Indiana overall defensively has done a good job making up for that and helping and rotating out of that help and in dealing with that, at least for now. That is obviously something you want to keep an eye on as you get into the schedule and against higher class opponents. But I think just at least to start right now, it looked pretty good. I had no concerns about how intense their pressure is, and I love that. I love the havoc that can create when your 2 point guards on the opposing point guards can cause that havoc for you, because that just causes the opponent's offense to slow, to have struggles getting going, getting into it. You get late shot clock situations, and you cause them to not get into the sets that they like. You cause them to be a little off balance, and that's been very good. That's shown in the shooting so far in at least these last couple games, or at least the games so far that we've seen. So happy to see that overall. I think diving into some numbers in this game. Well, hold on. I will say the last thing I do want to say, obviously, Nick Dorn still struggling to find his feeding. 1 for 4 in this game, made 1 3-pointer, 1 for 3. Like that he still keeps getting a little bit of a run. Had 15 minutes in this game. Coaching staff still needs to kind of find those moments for him. I would like to see in this Kansas State game coming up, which obviously I think I'll be looking overall to see Indiana bringing back a little bit more of the play calling from the beginning, running a few more sets than they did in this game. And I want to see some of those sets going to Nick Dorn. I want to see how he can fall into that kind of screen action and everything like that. I don't feel like we've seen that out of him right now, at least as much. He's just been trying to find it within the flow of the game. But again, I have high hopes for what he can become as he does get going for this team. Looking into stats of this game, I think the stat that continues to be a fantastic stat for this Indiana team is the assists to made baskets. And despite the baskets not going down, players didn't go into hero mode trying to make baskets themselves. And that's what belies when you look at this stat of 13 assists to 23 made baskets. If you had a team that was struggling to shoot and players were out there just trying to make their own and get their own shots going and forcing it, that ratio would be a lot different. You would see a lot less assists on a lot higher made baskets. So good to see that they continue to be unselfish and play with each other in that. Along with the defense You can see that in holding Lindenwood to 25% shooting. That's really impressive. They had the second half, they did have 35%, but in the first half, a staggering 18% from the field for Lindenwood. So again, that defense, that shows right there. That defense that we had in the first half was really what helped Indiana stay in this game overall. So that was really great to see. Another thing to kind of look at in this game, obviously we were talking about the rebounds, offensive rebounds to defensive rebounds. Lindenwood finished with 13 offensive rebounds, Indiana with just 6. So that's obviously something you don't like to see. I think it's a little skewed when you look at it overall, but I think there was easily a stretch where Lindenwood had about 6 or so back-to-back stretches with multiple, I will say, offensive rebounds. I think there was one possession down the court where they had 3 in a row. Luckily, they didn't make it at all. IU defended it well when they were, but you just saw a few putbacks and everything that again, okay against Lindenwood. We survived it, but against higher opponents, Kansas State this coming Tuesday, not something that you want to see for Indiana. Points off turnovers, though, did look good for Indiana. 11 points off turnovers for Indiana with 14, like I said, turnovers for Lindenwood in this game. Indiana with just 8 turnovers. So that's good. Still taking care of the ball on the offensive end for Indiana. Shooting percentage as well, finished really good from the free throw line. Obviously with IU getting to the free throw line quite a bit, taking 25, making 18 of them with a 72%. So continuing into that high 60, low 70s range, which is great to see. Obviously, rewind the tape back. That's not the case in past years where Indiana was able to get to the line easily and would finish games in the low 60s from the charity stripe, which was obviously not the greatest. Obviously, again, still shooting troubles. IU finished 38% from the field, 32 from 3. Amazing to think I am poo-pooing 32% from 3. Obviously, past years I would have enjoyed that overall. Again, did like the 5 blocks that Indiana got and the 8 steals. That was great as well overall in this game. And again, a game, and I hate to keep nailing it home and being a broken record with it, but a game that IU at least put some good tape down. Has some struggles to work on in practice now. And you better bet that there's going to be a lot of box out drills, a lot of rebounding drills about finding your timing, going up with 2 hands, bringing the ball down. So I'm predicting that we will see a change on that in this upcoming game on Tuesday. Indiana's next game is Tuesday against Kansas State. It's at 8 p.m. on FS1. So very interested to see how that game comes out. Kansas State so far, I looked a little bit at their stats the other day. They're averaging in the high, I think, 80s to 90s on points per game. Obviously, think about who they're playing right now, but again, a high-scoring team. So going to have to keep that defensive intensity up, that ball pressure up to disrupt that, because we can't rely on the fact of the other team not making or scoring points when we are lacking scoring points. So going to have to find it again. So very interesting game to see moving forward, seeing how Indiana follows up these 2 games. If they're up and going and excited for this, what the coaching staff runs for them, if we see a few more schemes at the start of the game to get Lamar going, to find some rhythm for him. I think that's going to be a real key to this game coming up, is let's run some plays early for him. Let's let him see the ball go into the basket. I don't think Tucker is a player that needs to see that kind of situation. So I hope to see that You hope to see Reed Bailey find his rhythm a little bit more. A continuation from what we have gotten from Sam Alexis coming off the bench is what I'll be looking for as well. And then just the guards to continue what they do, continue to be contributors for this team, to be ones that have that great ball pressure and run good screen plays, screening for shooters. And I think will be great. It'll be great to see this team against some higher competition again moving forward. But for now, that will do it on this edition of Hoosier Morning After. Thank you for being here with me. We'll be back again the day before Thanksgiving. So tune in wherever you are with your family out there enjoying the holiday week after the Kansas State game. Follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick. Martha hopefully will be back with me on Wednesday morning at The Mop Lady is Martha's Twitter handle. Thank you for Bob Thompson for producing the theme to the show. We'll be back again on Wednesday. We'll see you then, guys. Until then, go out there, have yourselves a wonderful